But what if you like somebody because he or she is so handsome, so beautiful, and you love it, and you try every way to talk with that person, and finally you get to marry that person, brought that person home and live with you. Now let me ask you, is that suffer or not? You got it. Now you got it. Okay? Earlier I mentioned that if you cannot get what you want, you suffer. Now you got what you want.
You suffer too.
Is that suffer or not? Why are you laughing?
It's true.
Double. Suffer. Double. Triple. You know why? Because now you have to protect it. You have to do everything to protect that person. You don't want to lose him or her. Right? You hold it tight. You are just like this, holding your fist like just like this, loosely like this. But somehow when you marry one person who you love a lot too much, and then you hold it real tight, trying to hold your fist, you see if you hold it tight, are you tired or not? Same way, if you hold somebody too tight, it's because you have to protect that person. You're afraid that she or him, he gonna leave you. Somebody gonna take him or her away from you, which one day she or he will leave you, regardless how much you protect it, how much you hold it. That is a type of attachment, right? The more you hold it tight, the tighter you are, the suffer you are. And so one day, that person left you. We suffer way much, a lot more than usual. So we suffer double, triple. So who's in here in this crowd that been doing that? There you go. Honesty. We did. We protect the person who we love. We don't want to lose. But impermanent. Either he or she will die. Either you broke up with her or she broke up with you because we don't have the same voice. Or either somebody else is better than us. Who knows? But everything's are impermanent. So if the more we expect, the more we suffer. So check ourselves to see if you hold that person way too tight. If you do, lose it a little bit. Whatever that you hold it too tight, it tends to lose, to go away from you. Because the more you hold it tight, the more your mind is not purified. Your mind is always thinking, oh, she's probably cheat on me. She probably talk with somebody right now. And why is she coming home so late? Things like that keep popping up in your head. You created it yourself. Is that right? She didn't do it, but you created it in your head like that. And one day she get upset. She go ahead and do what you expected it. What you thought in your head. And everything broke. Right? That is our human mind. Our mind is like that. That's why I call our mind is a wild animal. Do we have any wild animal in this state park? Have? Yes. Okay. Well, we have a lot here. I have my wild animal inside of me. We all have one. Not just one, many. Imagine in this world, as many wild animals in this world, we have everything in our world, inside of our head, our mind. Okay, that animal just keep thinking about bad things. I have no clue why, but we always think about bad things. And when we are free, have nothing to do, we tend to do bad things. That's the human mind. That's why I call monkey mind. That monkey mind is not staying at one place, keep jumping back and forth. And so, please, if you attach to anything in this life way too much, then you need to think again. Try to lose it. Try to relax. Relax yourself. It will help you. Okay?
The journey toward inner peace is often compared to a long, steady walk. It is not a sprint to a finish line where a trophy awaits, but rather a pilgrimage that we undertake with every breath and every step. When we hear of a walk for peace, our minds naturally conjure images of banners, crowds, and physical movement across miles of terrain. Yet, the true pilgrimage, the one that defines the quality of our lives, takes place entirely within the landscape of the human heart. It is here, amidst the rugged terrain of our desires, fears, and attachments, that the real work of peace must be done. We often move through life under the impression that peace is something we will finally acquire once we have arranged the furniture of our lives just so, once we have the right partner, the secure job, the perfect home. We treat peace as a destination. But as we look closer at our actual experience, we begin to see that peace is not a place we arrive at, it is a way of traveling. It is the art of keeping our hands open in a world that constantly tempts us to clench our fists. Consider the narrative we have all been fed since childhood, the fairy tale of the happily ever after. We are taught that suffering comes from not having what we want. We see a person who is beautiful or handsome, someone who seems to complete us, and we convince ourselves that if we could just be with them, the restless ache in our chest would subside. We strive, we woo, we negotiate, and finally, we succeed. We marry the person of our dreams, we bring them home. Logic dictates that the suffering should end here. We have the prize. But if we are truly honest with ourselves, we notice a startling paradox. Often, the suffering does not end, it doubles. It triples. Why does this happen? It happens because the moment we possess something precious, a new and subtle form of agony takes root, the agony of maintenance. Suddenly, we are not just enjoying love, we are guarding it. We become like museum curators watching over a priceless diamond, terrified of thieves, terrified of cracks, terrified of the day it might be lost. We have to protect this person. We worry about their safety, their loyalty, their changing moods. The energy that could be spent in joyful connection is instead siphoned off into a low-level, humming anxiety. We realize that getting what we want didn't solve the problem of human dissatisfaction. It just changed the texture of it. We moved from the suffering of longing to the suffering of losing. We discover that the happy ending is actually just the beginning of a high-stakes job of preservation. One that we are statistically destined to lose. For everything in this life is subject to change. This brings us to the most visceral metaphor for our condition, the clenched fist. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you hold your hand open, the sand rests there, supported and safe. But the moment you fear losing it, you squeeze your hand into a tight fist. What happens? The sand squirts out between your fingers. The tighter you squeeze, the more you lose, and the more exhausted your muscles become. In our relationships, we often mistake this tension for love. We think that holding on tight, checking phones, demanding reassurances, obsessing over schedules, is a sign of how much we care. In reality, it is a sign of how much we fear. When we hold someone too tightly, we are not hugging them. We are suffocating the relationship and exhausting ourselves. Try making a fist right now and holding it as hard as you can. Within seconds, You will feel the strain traveling up your arm. You will feel your energy draining. This is what we do to our souls when we refuse to accept the impermanence of life. We are trying to freeze time. We are trying to force a dynamic, changing human being to remain static so that we can feel secure. But life is fluid. People change. Feelings evolve. And yes, eventually, people leave. Whether through a breakup or the ultimate transition of death. The tighter we cling to the illusion of permanence, the more violent the eventual separation feels. We are not just losing a person. We are losing the false reality we exhausted ourselves trying to uphold. The wisdom of the open hand teaches us that we can love deeply without ownership. We can appreciate the beauty of the bird without building a cage around it. But why is it so hard to just relax and trust? Why do we default to this tightness? The culprit resides in the chaotic, untamed nature of the mind itself. What is often called the monkey mind, or the wild animal, within. We all have this creature living inside our heads. It is restless, paranoid, and incredibly creative in the worst possible ways. When we are holding on too tight, this wild animal starts to fabricate stories. It whispers, "Why is she late? Is she talking to someone else? Why is he so quiet? He must be losing interest." We create elaborate tragedies in our minds that have no basis in reality. The partner might simply be stuck in traffic or tired from work. But our internal wild animal has already written a script of betrayal and abandonment. We suffer not because of what is happening in the room, but because of what is happening in our heads. We let this monkey mind jump from branch to branch, dragging us through hells of our own making. If we do not learn to tame this animal, to sit it down and teach it to breathe, it will sabotage the very things we are trying so hard to protect. The suspicion and jealousy generated by the wild mind create a tension that pushes people away, effectively fulfilling the very prophecy we were terrified of. Taming this mind requires the gentle discipline of returning to the present, of realizing that right now, in this breath, there is no threat, there is only the story we are telling ourselves. This tendency to center the world around our own emotional needs becomes even more profound, and perhaps more difficult to confront, when we face the death of a parent or a loved one. In many cultures, particularly in the West and parts of East Asia, deep mourning and uncontrollable weeping are seen as the ultimate proofs of love. We believe that the volume of our tears corresponds to the depth of our devotion. If we don't fall apart, we worry that we didn't love them enough. But if we look into the mirror of our grief with courageous honesty, we might find a startling truth staring back at us. Often, we are not crying for them. We are crying for ourselves. When a parent dies, we lose the architecture of our safety. We lose the shoulder we leaned on when the world was harsh. We lose the bank of mom and dad that we could turn to when we made financial mistakes. We lose the unconditional validation that perhaps no one else in the world gave us. When they leave, we are suddenly exposed to the elements. The roof is gone. The tears that flow so freely are often tears of self-pity and fear. We are like children realizing we are suddenly alone in the dark. This is a hard truth to swallow, but acknowledging it is the first step toward a more mature, spiritual form of love. True love for the departed is not about drowning in our own helplessness. It is about wishing them well on their journey. If we believe that the spirit continues, then our excessive grief acts like an anchor, holding them back, weighing them down with the heavy gravity of our attachment. We are effectively saying, "Don't go, because I still need you to make me feel safe." So, how do we honor them if not through the performance of despair? We transform our grief into action. We move from the passive state of weeping to the active state of wholesome deeds. In many wisdom traditions, there is a profound understanding that the best way to send love to those who have passed is to generate goodness in the here and now. When we feel the sharp pang of loss, instead of collapsing, we can use that energy to do something kind, to feed the hungry, to help a neighbor, to contribute to peace in our community, and then mentally dedicate the merit of that action to our loved one. This shifts the dynamic entirely. We stop being victims of death and become agents of legacy. We say, because you lived, I am doing this good thing today. This is how we transfer our love across the veil. We cannot send them money. We cannot send them food. We cannot send them our tears. But we can send them the energy of a good heart. When the mind is clouded with suffering and depression, we are closed off. We cannot generate or transmit light. But when we compose ourselves and perform an act of kindness, we open a channel. We become a bridge between the world of the living and the world of the spirit. We realize that the most profound way to say, I love you, to the dead is to live beautifully for the living. Finally, this practice of active love opens our eyes to a larger, more comforting reality. We are never truly walking alone. Our modern, materialist worldview often makes us feel isolated, as if we are biological accidents wandering through an empty universe. But when we quiet the monkey mind and open the clenched fist, we may begin to sense that the world is far more crowded and supportive than our eyes can see. We are surrounded by lineages of ancestors, by energies of peace, by the unseen multitude that walks with us. Just because our eyes cannot register a form does not mean the space is empty. A radio wave is invisible, yet it carries music. The wind is invisible, yet it moves the trees. Similarly, the love and support of those who came before us are always present, waiting for us to tune our receiver to their frequency. When we stop frantically protecting our little fortress of self-interest, we allow ourselves to be supported by this vast, invisible community. We realize that the pressure is off. We don't have to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. We just have to walk our path with integrity, kindness, and an open heart. Ultimately, the walk for peace is a walk toward this lightness. It is a decision we make every morning. We decide to love without clutching. We decide to witness our wild thoughts without believing them. We decide to honor our losses by increasing our kindness. And we decide to trust that, even in our most solitary moments, we are held by a universe that is vast, populated, and profoundly benevolent. By unclamping our fists, we don't lose anything real. We only lose our anxiety. We drop the heavy baggage we were never meant to carry. And we find that our hands are finally free to receive the life that is waiting for us.